All right, welcome back to the Fantasy Labs podcast. This is Brian. I am joined by Justin Fan. Justin, what's up, man?
Not too much, man. Doing well.
Good. So we're back after Thanksgiving. We have a full week. We're approaching, I guess, more holidays coming up, but back to a full week of stuff. I was out Thursday, so I'm glad Justin and Jay were still able to provide the podcast for you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it and did well. But so back on full slate. So we'll do podcasts this whole week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'll be back on all of those. Justin tonight, and then Jay the other two. So we'll jump in because we got a fairly large slate, and we'll hit right into it. So the games start at 7:30 tomorrow, as opposed to 7. So just a quick note on that. But we'll start with the first game, Boston, Miami. And it looks like the line we have right now is 192, so really low. And the Heat are 5-point favorites. So let's start on Boston. Justin, so give us your just preliminary thoughts. They're coming off a back-to-back. Marcus Smart's still out. What are your thoughts on Boston?
Yeah, I'm not attacking this game too aggressively. I think Isaiah Thomas is borderline cash, but not really. I don't feel too strong about him. I think the guy that I like most out of Boston is Jared Sullinger still. I think he's really been 32 DK points for last week, and I think this line is close enough to where I don't have to worry too much about the minutes downside because the thing with Sully is that his minutes tend to fluctuate a little bit too much from game to game, right? He'll play 33 or 32, and then one game he'll play like 23. So I think I'm projecting for like 29 to 32 minutes in this one, and at 6,400 on DK, I like him there.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I just kind of my first thoughts on Boston side was that really this whole game was that I'm not really looking for cash guys in this game, partly because of the low line, but also just there's not a ton of great values here. I think Isaiah is probably still underpriced on DraftKings, but it's getting closer to the point where probably to break even point. He's probably around 8K, I would say, and he's at 7.6 now. Solinger, I agree, he's underpriced 6.4, but he does have that minutes downside. But I agree that I'm probably less worried about it. So Solinger actually top 5 rebounding rate in the NBA this year. Did you know that?
Yeah, I mean he's been crushing. And yeah, they don't really have a lot of rebounders on that team. Fairly undersized on that front court. And then, let me see. Sully's 6,100 on FanDuel, so I like him a little bit more there than on DK.
Yeah.
I theoretically liked Evan Turner coming in because Marcus Smart was up, but he hasn't been playing enough minutes. For some reason, they played a lot of Terry Rozier today too, and Turner just hasn't been seeing consistent 30 to 32 minutes where I feel comfortable with him. So I'm off him. So I mean, Soldier's about it, 6,100 on FanDuel for me.
Yeah, maybe Bradley at 6.5.
Tournaments, though.
Tournaments only for sure, yeah. Cash, I'm probably not really on any of these guys. I mean, we got looks like we got an 8-game slate, and at a line of 192, or 193.5, I guess. Just not really looking for cash game plays here, even though Thomas and Soldier are fairly okay values, not super safe. Okay, so Miami side, who are the guys you're looking at?
Yeah, I think Whiteside always is a top play on Miami. 8K on DK opposed to 84 on our FanDuel. I like him at 8K on DK, and this is a really undersized Boston front court. Like I mentioned, they don't really have a lot of guys there that scare me. They're running out like Amir Johnson, David Lee, Sully, and Olynyk and Jerebko. So none of the guys can match Whiteside's physicality. So I think, especially with guys like Isaiah driving to the rim a lot, offers a lot of blocking opportunities for him. So this could be a solid line for him here. And, news and notes, Luol Deng doubtful for Monday with that hamstring injury. So this might be another spot to plug and play Gerald
Sure.
Green. Yeah, Gerald Green's 4K on DK and 3,700 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Both solid values. I don't love to hang my hat on Gerald Green, but he's been solid enough in his last 2 spot starts in Dang's place where I'm fine with rolling him in cash as a pump play.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Whiteside's cash in cash at 8K. I think that's reasonable. And obviously he's fine in tournaments as well because he has the block upsides and rebound upside. Yeah. So Gerald Green's obviously the guy that we're interested in if Dang's going to be out. So I think I don't know. See, Gerald Green worries me a little bit, and he's a guy that's so dependent on scoring for his fantasy production. Those guys always worry me a little bit. Like Rudy Gay, we just saw the last week, a guy who's really dependent on scoring for his production, and those guys kind of worry me in cash a little bit. I think I'm okay with the 37 still on FanDuel. Like that's low enough where it like almost doesn't matter. But starting to get up into the 4K range worries me a little bit, even at the value.
No, I agree with you. And like I said, I don't. Joe Green isn't a guy. My take on Joe Green is always to exercise caution because I don't trust him. But
Yeah.
at 4K, it's implied is 17 on DK, and he's been averaging 28 in his 2 spot starts. So even if you factor in like regression there, he's been shooting a lot more than Dwayne Wade. So he's kind of like he's going to put up his shots no matter what. So I feel good enough with his minutes and his usage to where I think he's pretty safe to hit 17 plus on DK and more than likely like low 20s.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. So borderline cash for me on DraftKings, but for sure on FanDuel. But solid tournament option for sure because he allows you to get a lot of guys in. So before we move on, I love Wade at 6'7" as a tournament guy, and Bosch at 7'3" doesn't really interest me a whole lot in either contest format, but I'm okay with him in tournaments.
Yeah, I'm probably off Wade in tournaments too, just because, like I said, Gerald Green's coming in that lineup and has been stealing a lot of shots away from D Wade.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm worried about. I don't see that upside. I'd much rather have Dang in there. Who's kind of like, sitting there on the perimeter and not really a higher usage guy.
Yeah.
So this isn't a spot that I really love for Wade. Though I think he'll be really low owned for sure.
Yeah. So if you want the ownership discount for sure, especially with the low total, because it's one of the lower ones of the slate, if not second lowest of the slate, it looks like. So let's move on. Next game I got is Houston at Detroit. Houston is just finishing right now a game, so they're obviously going to be on a back-to-back on the road at Detroit. Looks like the line is at 197.5, and the Pistons are 3.5-point favorites as I have it right now. So let's start on Houston's side. Justin, give me your thoughts. Any news or anything like that for Houston?
Yeah, Dwight's going to play on Monday, expected to play, but he's going to be in a harder minutes cap than usual. I think he's going to probably play around 25 minutes in the second leg. There's 2 plays here for me, and it's pretty clear cut. And James Harden, he's been so dominant recently just because Dwight's not really getting involved in this offense. His shot attempts around, I don't know, they've been around like 5 field goal attempts for 36 to 7 in that range for a while now. Just hasn't been involved in the offense. Ty Lawson is pretty much out of the rotation. Corey Brewer's not doing anything. Terrence Jones getting marginalized. So like there's so few mouths to feed where he can monopolize a lot of the offense. And I think he's probably one of the top cash game plays on the slate, even though he's going against a KCP. I think he's pretty matchup proof at this point. And the second guy that I really like is Clint Capella. And he's going to be starting at power forward alongside Dwight for the foreseeable future. Bickerstaff really likes that new lineup that they're going with. And Capella, actually, he's really impressive. You watch him, he has a lot of bounce. Like he has that like first first jump that Dwight used to have in Orlando.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as a result, he's been stealing a lot of rebounds from Dwight.
Yeah.
Dwight's rebound totals the last 2 games where Clint started is not good. Clint's getting all those rebounds.
Yeah.
And Capella's at 5,100 on DK. Let me pull up his FanDuel price right now. He's at 4,600 on FanDuel, which is even better. I think he's solid cash for both, especially on FanDuel.
Yep.
Especially with Dwight limited, he's going to play upwards of 30 minutes in this one. So I really like Capella.
Yeah, completely agree. I love Capella. I'll start with Harden. I agree completely. The KCP thing is a little worrisome for most guys, but Harden, he like no guy bothers him. Like if he was playing Kawhi, then I would take him off cash, but KCP is not that level, even though he's really good. And I agree with Capella. 5-1 is crazy. He's getting a lot of minutes. He's looked really good. So until his price comes up, especially on FanDuel, cash for sure. I've been playing him in cash. Last 2 games he's been starting. I will say one other guy that intrigues me for Houston before we move on to Detroit, which is Patrick Beverley at 3.9 on DraftKings. He got the start and played 32 minutes against Philly. And he played, looks like they just finished, and he played 34 minutes tonight. Obviously doesn't have a high usage, so not a guy that you want to hang your hat on, but a guy at 3.9 who is going to get, maybe 35 minutes. Is somewhat intriguing in a tournament, I guess.
Yeah, to an extent. That minute total, that 34, a little inflated by overtime. So I think that was actually probably closer to 29, perhaps. But point still stands that, yeah, he's playing a lot of minutes. Ty Lawson barely played on Sunday. So, yeah, he's okay.
Yeah. Agreed. And then let's move on to Detroit side. So obviously Detroit question is always whether you want to pay up for Drummond or not. I kind of like this spot. He's at 8-9, getting, reduced minutes Dwight because of the back-to-back, and his price is dipped because of not great play. His price is dipped $1,000 on DraftKings in the last week because of some fairly subpar games, but obviously a guy who could blow up at any time. So I actually kind of really love the spot for Drummond, but give me your thoughts on him and Jackson.
Yeah, I'm off Reggie. I don't want him against Beverly. I don't like that at all. I like Drummond though. This kind of fast-paced games, I think there's going to be a lot of shots missed, especially with Houston on the second leg of a back-to-back, and they'll be a little sloppy. Drummond's actually been pretty solid. You mentioned his price has dropped, but he's at 44 DK points over the last week, which is implied of about 10K, like a little short of 10K. So I'm good with Drummond here. Would you take Drummond at 89 or Whiteside at 8 on DK?
Oh, good question. I think I'd go Drummond, but it's pretty close. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I think that'll be kind of the biggest decision you'll have at center on DK on Monday for sure.
Yeah, I wonder who do you think would be lower owned in tournaments? I would assume maybe Drummond just because of the Whiteside discount because he's cheaper.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's tough. I think Drummond has the name, so I think that probably makes me lean towards him.
Yeah,
I don't think enough people are sharp enough to play Whiteside over Drummond. I don't think people are thinking on that. Most people are thinking on that level just yet.
Yeah.
So I probably just stick with chalk and say Drummond, but.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be close for sure.
Yeah. Sometimes I do this all the time where I kind of overthink things for sure. And I think I kind of assume that people will think the way that I do, which is sometimes true and sometimes not. But obviously you can definitely overthink things in DFS for sure. So before we move on, any other guy potentially interest you? Maybe Marcus Morris or
No, he's kind of spinning off and on and off, and I don't love the spots for Marcus Morris against Ariza, or I don't love KCP against Harden. Just drawing a lot. I mean, he's going to be expending a lot of his attention and energy on
On defense, yeah.
defense.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm not on really any of these Pistons outside of Drummond.
Agreed. And I will say that yeah, yeah. So I sometimes look at these DraftKings like opponent rank, which is DVP, which I'm not a huge fan of. I know we kind of touched on that before in some pods, but so it is interesting that like Stanley Johnson and Marcus Morris, like these guys that are small forwards, have an opponent rank of 30. So I think it'll kind of inflate their ownership, or maybe I'm overthinking this again. I don't know. But that's something I look
So
at.
you're
So.
saying Houston's DVP against. So you're saying Houston's small forward defense has been bad according to DVP. Is that what you're saying?
According to DVP, yeah,
Yeah.
which I don't necessarily agree that is true. I mean, I guess the data says it, but I don't necessarily that's that because of their small forwards necessarily. I don't know.
They have been playing a lot of smaller lineups to start the season too.
Yeah,
With Marcus Thornton, they had that big stretch there where he was starting and playing at the 2, where Harden was at the 3. So I think maybe the DVP numbers aren't so reflective of what we'll actually see on Monday with Capella and Dwight in the front court and Ariza at the 3.
yeah,
I think Ariza is a much better defender than Harden, so I think you kind of have to read past the DVP and
yeah,
understand why it's maybe slanting that way early on.
yeah. I also think a big reason why it's kind of slanting that way, and this is just something that is a flaw of DVP, is I assume it's not pace adjusted.
Yeah, I think it's just raw, right? Like,
Yes, so that matters a whole lot. So yeah, I would guess that that's the reason why a lot of these high paced teams have high DVPs. But it's not because like even like a per possession DVP would be better, but obviously that's not what we're looking at. But you could use that to your advantage. Obviously, you can look and see potentially where the public's going to be at and use that as a I don't know.
yeah, though to be fair, the pace does matter a little bit because it also means you can also like ignore that opposing small forwards that play Houston won't get the added benefit of seeing an
True.
extra possession or two as well. So I think that
Yeah.
is to an extent fair.
Yeah, I think it is fair, and I think that's where you use the pace differential, part of our model, and you can see the difference in the pace between the two teams. I think sometimes lower pace teams can drag down higher pace teams. I actually did a study earlier, so I think maybe it's inflated by two high pace teams playing each other, whereas maybe it's not super accurate when you're talking about a high pace team versus a low pace team. So something to study and think about at least. But okay, so let's move on. Next game is Denver at Milwaukee. The line is 200.5, and the Bucks are 3-point favorites as I have it right now. So let's start on Denver's side. So yeah, so what are your thoughts on the Nuggets?
Oh, I hate this team right now.
Yeah,
They're just way too deep, and they're just playing like guys like 14 minutes, 16 minutes, 18 minutes. Like there's just Fareed's coming off the bench now, playing 14 minutes last game, and then we got Gary Harris still dealing with a concussion up in the air. He's questionable. I
Mhm.
don't know where the rotation. I mean, like there aren't guys that I'm looking at in this rotation and feeling really good about. I think Gallinari is probably the only guy I'm
Right.
looking at as a potential tournament option.
Yeah.
Um, I don't love the
Yep.
spot for him, but he always has that upside. Moutier, MCW, Kobe, all those guys are like on pace for like some of the worst offensive seasons in NBA history. Like their usage versus efficiency have been awful. I'm not touching Moutier. And yeah, Darrell Arthur, I don't trust him either. Maybe Fareed plays a little bit more. He looked really good in 14 minutes last game coming off the bench. I think he had like 10 and 5 and finished with 21 DK points. So I
Yep.
think Fareed will play a little bit more, cut into Arthur's minutes. Arthur won't play 31 again. And yeah, Randy Foye at 37 minutes only put up, wow, he wasn't even like 15 DK points. I think he was awful in 37 minutes. So yeah, forget about that.
That's impressive.
That's the KCP special.
10.75 DK points in 37 minutes.
Yeah.
That's darn impressive, actually.
Yeah. How do you do that? Like,
I don't know. You would think like just a couple more rebounds would bounce your way, like just accidentally.
yeah.
It seems like statistically improbable for that to happen. Yeah, I agree with you. No cash game for sure. I'm okay with Gallo at 6'8". He has upside. Even though I don't particularly love the matchup, even though this is another kind of DVP where it says that I should love the matchup, even though I don't think I do from a basketball standpoint. But yeah, so the interesting thing to me is I want to see where their rotation is with Fareed coming back from this ankle injury. Obviously, you're right. He played 14 minutes, looked okay. But I just don't quite know where it's going to be tomorrow. And just, because I'm not sure, I'm not going to like put a ton of money into guys with not really high upside in anyway, let alone when I'm not really sure what their minutes are going to be. So, yeah, I'm kind of on the same page. Gallo, and that's it.
I think an interesting turning option on FanDuel at 5,300 is Will Barton, especially if Gary Harris is still out. I think he's the one guy who you can who's shown upside. He put up 35 DK points last game, and he's shown that he can get 30 minutes off the bench and still be very productive. So yeah, I think he's the only other tournament option here outside of Gallo. I don't, that front court is really crowded. Hickson's out of rotation now. Jokic isn't playing enough minutes, and
Nurkic is even back.
Yeah, so I don't know.
It's about to get more crowded. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm okay with Barton, especially on FanDuel where you get the discount. And I'm always more willing to play a guy like that on FanDuel where I have to roster two small shooting guards or small forwards anyway. Whereas
shooting guard, it's really thin there.
Yeah. Whereas DraftKings, where you only have to get one, and then you get obviously the utility spots where you can go another point guard or whatever, it's hard to kind of justify that unless you're just really going for trying to get a unique lineup or low ownership. But yeah, definitely like him more on FanDuel. Milwaukee side, where are you at?
Yeah, they tried a new starting lineup on Sunday. Finally, I think it's probably one of their better looks, getting MCW off the floor as much as possible. I think that trade has been an absolute disaster dealing with Brandon Knight. Brandon Knight's just balling out in Phoenix right now, just dropping some crazy lines while MCW's struggling to even, I don't know, shoot like 35% from the field is like a huge accomplishment for him these days. It's really, really bad for MCW. So this new starting lineup, Jared Bayless, OJ Mayo, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then Greg Monroe. And we saw the first look at it on Sunday, and wow, Bayless and Mayo played massive minutes. Bayless played 43 minutes in regulation. This didn't go overtime. Bayless played 43. Mayo played 44. So I think you really have to take a look at these guys. Even in cash, Bayless at 4,900 on DK, Mayo at 4K. Let me look on Bayless even better on FanDuel at 4,500 and Mayo at 3,600. So I think Bayless and Mayo are kind of like really, really strong bargain plays on FanDuel at their downs, especially if they're playing these types of minutes. So I think those, just by virtue of points per dollar, are at the top of my list here. I'm off Giannis because introducing those two guys into the starting lineup means a lot less usage and fewer shots. I think he only took 5 shot attempts on Sunday. And if that's the case, then I really question whether, even in tournaments, that I'm really too confident in playing Giannis, even though I like his all-around potential.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. Yeah. Giannis and Greg Monroe are usually the cash game plays, but I agree. For me, it's definitely Bayless and OJ Mayo for sure. Especially seeing, I mean, I'm not expecting them to be in the 40s. Are you?
No, no.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think like
35.
mid 30s is good
Yeah,
enough,
yeah, yeah, for
right?
sure. Not even good enough. It's amazing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Especially at that prices. I'm okay with Middleton too at 5'7".
yeah,
Yeah, especially at
yeah,
that shooting guard spot. But yeah, so Monroe and I think Monroe and Giannis are definitely playable. It's not like they're really expensive. I just think that they're probably more tournament plays. But I think that entire starting lineup is in play in some sort of contest format tomorrow.
yeah. I agree with you on Middleton. I like him. I like his price, and yeah, he did really well on Sunday too, 41 DK points. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm good with him.
Yeah, I think he's better playing, with two guys like Mayo and Bayless and playing. I mean, I don't think there's a huge difference between shooting guard and small forward, like in real basketball terms. But just having another shooter and moving Giannis to the four, so they kind of have that 1 in 4 out look. I think really benefits Middleton a lot as a spot up shooter, and he's shown in his career that he's a really good spot up shooter. So I like him for sure. Um, cool. Move on. Next game.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So we got a juicy one here. Oklahoma City at Atlanta. Really high over under. We got 211.5. And Oklahoma City is a 2-point favorite. So not only really high over under, but also a close one, which is good for us. So let's start OKC side. Yeah. So Durant is okay.
Yeah, he's still sub 10K, and he was
Yeah.
9,700 on Friday when me and
Yeah.
Jay did that pod, and I pubbed him really hard. Because anytime, like I said, anytime you can get a top three, top two player like KD at sub 10K, you have to jump all over it.
Right.
And even though he's going against Millsap and this Hawks defense has slipped a little this year. Last I checked, they were kind of middle of the road in defensive efficiency. Um, and yeah, even against Tabo potentially or anyone they throw at him, he's unguardable. So
Yep.
I'll take the discount still at 9,900. I think Russ probably has to be within $400 for me to like consider playing Russ over KD.
Yep.
I'll take the discount for KD all day. He's 700 cheaper on DK and 500 cheaper on FanDuel.
Yep.
So Russ is still 11K on FanDuel. I don't. That's
It's a
way too
lot of
much.
money. Yeah, a lot of money.
Yeah.
Especially someone like Bayless, who's like 7,000 cheaper or something. I don't even know where Bayless is right now, but yeah, 11K. It's just kind of ridiculous, especially on FanDuel. I agree. Durant is cash for sure at 9.9 on DraftKings. I will never say don't play Russ in tournament, so fine with him. But the question for me, and I was curious to ask you because obviously this is a juicy high total, but I don't really like so like obviously you would think that the scoring could go around for OKC, but I don't really like anyone else.
No, I don't like anybody else either, and it's perfectly fine because
Okay.
you take a look at Ibaka's on-off and DK averages with KD and Russ and without one of the two, and they're significant. They're dramatically different. And his usage his falls a very significant amount. So he's I think with Durant back, the last couple games he's averaged about 26 DK points, which implied puts him at 6K, and he's priced at 6,200. So I don't think you're getting a ton of value on Ibaka either way. And I'm not attacking this matchup for him either. I have a lot of respect for Millsap and Horford. I don't think this is a spot where you're jumping to play Ibaka.
No. Yeah. Not Yeah, again, I'm not really on anyone else on OKC for sure. Okay, so Atlanta side, I honestly, this is the hardest team for me on the slate because, again, like we said, like this is a juicy total, and it's not like the Thunder are heavy favorites. I mean, they're only 2-point favorites, so we're thinking a close game, but God, I'm not really in love with any of these guys here. Horford at 6'4", but I mean his minutes have been down and kind of up and down. I don't know. So can you talk me into any of these guys?
Yeah, I think I'm still I still kind of like Millsap at 77. I think that's fine. Let me see where he's 86 on FanDuel, so no way there. But I'll take him at 77 on DK. I don't. Is it one of my favorite cash plays of the slate? No, but I think he's still cash viable. He's the guy I trust the most on this team from game to game. He's averaged about 40 DK points over the last week and really had to carry this team on his back. I don't love Jeff Teague against Russ.
Yeah.
I don't love that matchup, and I'm off Horford. I don't trust him enough at all. Yeah. He's just too up and down for my liking. I don't know when he's going to come through. I question his upside as well, just because his usage isn't high enough for me to jump all over him.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling. Like Millsap, maybe you could talk me into it. I'm not super in love with that matchup against KD, so I'm probably not on him in cash, but I guess in tournaments it's okay. But even still, I've talked before, Millsap's just not a guy that I target in tournaments because while he's a really safe floor in most matchups, his upside is not really there. And I agree on Teague and Horford. Bazemore's coming off the bench. Thabo's getting the start, but he's playing in minutes but not doing much with it. Yeah, I don't know about this Atlanta team. I mean, they're projected to score a lot of points. I just don't know where it's going to come from. I don't know. So, and I don't think and not necessarily that's indicative of the fact that they're not going to score. It's just I think that it might be distributed around, and it's not super predictable. So I think that they are okay tournament lineup or tournament options because of that reason. But obviously, it's not incredibly safe. I guess is what I'm saying.
Agreed. But they do have to come somewhere. But so
right.
I'm gonna bet a lot of them are going to come from Millsap just because I'm off Horford.
Yeah.
I'm off Jeff Teague against Russ. Yeah. I'm off any shooting guard against Andre Robertson.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Millsap can find a way to get going, and he's even though I don't love the matchup, I think he'll find a way to put up at least 38 DK points in this one.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Mostly just because he has to, or else I think they'd get blown out. So so Millsap I'm fine with in tournaments for sure. Okay, let's move on. Spurs at Bulls is the next game. We got the lowest line of the slate is at 190.5, and the Spurs are 3.5 point favorites. So let's start on San Antonio. So thoughts on them?
Hottest player in the NBA right now, Kawhi Leonard, and still 86 on DK. Let me check his FanDuel price real quick. 91, not as great on FanDuel. 86 on DK. I'm all over that. He's averaging like 50 plus. Like he 5x5x5x5 or whatever. 5x5 like the other day. Like the versatility statistically is just ridiculous. Like
he was one short of the 5x5 or the 5x5 because he has a steal short.
Okay. Well,
he'll get it this year though.
Yeah. And I mean, if we're talking MVP candidates, I think he's probably number 2 right now for me, behind Steph. So he's right up there for me with just the way he's played so far this season and elevated his offensive game. I think that's super underrated, and obviously he's one of the best defenders in the league. So, he's been really consistent offensively too. I mean, he's scored over 20 to 25 points
every game the last several weeks.
Yeah, the thing I love about him too for DFS is that his minutes floor is really solid. Like everybody else gets kind of like yanked around by pop. We saw Aldridge kind of like get popped when Tim Duncan was out the other night. He only played like 18 minutes in the start, which was super frustrating. But Kawhi was still out there playing 30 plus, and he played like I don't know late in the fourth quarter too when they're up big. So yeah, Kawhi 86. I think if I want to start a team and find a way to get to start off with Kawhi and KD on DK,
together. Yeah,
that's probably my favorite duo. And then you can save a little bit with guys like Bayless and OJ Mayo too to kind of you know I think that's a good foursome to look at. Maybe you don't want both of the Bucks backcourt guys, but at least one of them for sure.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, I definitely agree. I might even be okay with both, but I know that's probably not a popular take. But yeah, I agree. Kawhi is amazing. So his minutes were down against the Hawks, but that was because they blew him out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because he was right around 30, and he had been up in the upper 30s before that. So, yeah, and I actually think it helped because I think maybe his price didn't bump up as much as it should have because of that reason. So, yeah, definitely cash game play for sure. Easy. Where is he at on FanDuel?
Kawhi's at 9,100 on FanDuel.
I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, sure. less ideal than 86, obviously, but 91's still fine.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Anyone else intrigue you on San Antonio side? I agree. Kawhi is kind of intriguing no matter what the Vegas spread is going to be, but the rest of the Spurs are kind of worrying me, and the Bulls too. Duncan, I'm okay with.
I like Duncan and Chernys a lot.
Yeah.
Always in Chernys, just because he has that potential to put up huge lines in like 27, 28 minutes. And I think this is a spot where he's facing kind of like a traditionally bigger front court with Gasol and Noah at playing that center position. So I like Duncan in tournaments a lot at 6K on DK. That's really, really good for me. And maybe a little Tony Parker.
TP, yeah. I was going to say that, yeah.
54 on DK and 55 on FanDuel going against D Rose. Yep. Like you said in the past, his minutes have been really high, surprisingly. He played lower minutes recently just because of a blowout, but before that he was in the low 30s consistently. So I think this is a spot where you can see like 32 minutes and do some things against D Rose.
Agreed. Yeah, I really like Parker. I don't think I would go him in cash, partly because I'm a little worried about his floor, and partly because of the slate. Like we talked about those Milwaukee guys at the guard spots that I like better. But at 5'4", yeah, definitely playable. And you said he was in that range for FanDuel as well?
Yeah, 55 on FanDuel.
55. Yeah, so I'm fine with that. I like him better on DraftKings, obviously, at the price, but definitely playable either place in tournaments for sure. Okay, so Chicago side, where are you looking?
Yeah, so some minor news. Aaron Brooks ruled out. Kirk Heinrich and Doug McDermott both questionable. Maybe if Brooks and Heinrich are out, you want to get a little cute and go each one more in tournaments. Yeah. I'm okay with taking that dart throw. Otherwise, though, against the Spurs, the Bulls are implied at 93.5 points for Monday. That's the lowest implied team total of the slate, and so I'm off the Bulls pretty much completely from top to bottom. I think. I don't know if Jimmy his ownership is going to be low enough in tournaments to make him like a very contrarian play because he has an awful matchup against Kawhi.
Right.
It's brutal. So if you can get Jimmy at like 5% or lower, then obviously I want some shares. But I'm I'm not sure that people are going to be fading him that hard. Maybe.
Yeah, see, this is where I get into I sometimes I outthink myself because I like think like, okay, maybe this is a spot where I do target Jimmy in a couple lineups, and then I like check the ownership and I'm like, why is he at 14%? He's going against Kawhi and he's 8K. So yeah, so maybe don't overthink it. Just kind of stick to your guts, and especially in cash for sure. Don't try to predict ownership in cash. Just kind of go with your best plays. But yeah, don't overthink it. Maybe it's just a complete fade for me. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not on anyone else on Chicago. It's a complete team fade. I guess Etuan Moore because he's what, min price at shoot.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Yeah. At shooting guard, so obviously that's.
I don't love him, but like if you want to save some, if you want like if you're going stars and scrubs, right, you want something just plug in there. That's fine.
Yeah.
Only if Heinrich's out. He's currently questionable with that hip pointer. Yeah, like the only other guys worth mentioning are for DK because they're priced softer there are Pau Gasol and Nico. Nico's been Nico being Nikola Mirotic.
Yeah.
Mirotic has been really great over the past couple of games and been seeing minutes and knocking down shots. And a matchup against Aldridge doesn't scare me too much. So yeah, 5,700. Some light tournament exposure I'm okay with, though not one of my favorite plays.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
You're doing that basically just riding the hot streak, riding the hot hand, hoping he can continue to knock down shots and overcome this tough team draw and tough implied total.
Yeah, and yeah, just about everyone on San Antonio's like. Aldridge is a good defender. Duncan's obviously a good defender. Kawhi, so they can all kind of switch pick and rolls, and it doesn't matter. So tournament maybe here and there some exposure with the guys we talked about, but definitely please don't go Chicago guys in cash. Let's move on. Golden State at Utah is the next game. Over under is 200, and the Warriors are 7.5 point favorites. So let's start with Golden State. So news and notes, obviously Harrison Barnes is the big one here.
Yeah, Harrison Barnes out for at least 3 games with that sprained left ankle, so obviously he'll be out on Monday. I think people might want to chase points with Brandon Rush here. He had, let me see here, 22.3 DK points on Saturday in his start. But the concerning thing is that he only played 19 minutes. And you're not playing Brandon Rush hoping for over a DK point per minute. That's just not his MO. You have a little, revenge game narrative here again with the Jazz potentially. I don't know. So that's very light if you want to take a walk down narrative street. The thing with the Warriors and Harrison Barnes being out is that the minutes will be spread really evenly between all these guys. You're talking what we saw, Iguodala at 22 minutes, Barbosa at 21, Brandon Rush at 19, Livingston at 17. So none of these guys are going to see enough minutes for me to be all over him in cash. Brandon Rush at 3,700 on DK, he is 3,600 on FanDuel. Decent. I'd rather play Mayo or Bayless, just because you get a such higher floor with those guys. I think you're kind of playing with fire if you're hang your hat on Brandon Rush.
Yeah, and another guy is very, very scoring dependent. I mean, he didn't really do much. I mean, he obviously scored a lot the other game and played well, but obviously scoring dependent. He didn't do much other than that. They even ran elevators, which is
Yeah.
which is a basketball play where two guys screen and then close off their screen and get a guy a wide open three. So Warriors running elevator for Brandon Rush is interesting, but so yeah, intriguing at 3.7. Not a guy that I'm going to count on that happening again, but definitely like if he's going to be that cheap on DraftKings, you could look at him in tournaments. But I think it's kind of the same suspects here for Golden State. I don't think the injury super changes things for me other than Rush. Curry, Draymond, I'm on.
Yeah, Draymond at 7,700 on DK. I like that a lot, especially in tournaments coming off back-to-back triple doubles.
Yeah.
And this is I like these kind of setups where he kind of has to do a little bit more on offense, and then you can showcase his versatility. Not a great matchup against Gordon Hayward, though. I think at 7,700, I'm all about that, especially in tournaments. I think he's cash viable as well. He's kind of the guy I'm most intrigued here by. Curry. You always have to pay a pretty hefty premium at 10.8 on DK and 10.9 on FanDuel, but
that's not even that hefty for me.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean that's fair. Would you play? You like Curry or Russell Westbrook more?
Oh, Curry.
Just on pure value.
Curry for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and like not even really super close for me.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And what I do like about this is 7-point spread, which is surprising really low for the Warriors.
For a Warriors game, yeah.
I think this might be a really close spot for them.
The Jazz have looked good.
Right, I'm a Warriors fan, so like you know where my fandom lies, but I think this might be a game where they could potentially lose, and it'll be closer than people think.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if they'll lose. I do think it'll be pretty close. The Jazz have looked pretty good, even without Derek Favors last game. Trevor Booker came in, was really good, and just kind of a good team effort all around. So, I think it'll be an interesting game to watch for sure. I'm not going to make a bet that Golden State's going to lose, but I do think that it'll be interesting to watch.
No, I'll say the Jazz are just going to cover. That's my bet.
That's probably
obviously, I'm not going to say that the Warriors are going to lose, but I think there's a possibility. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I am really interested to see how Brandon Rush does, even just kind of outside DFS, because if he continues to play this way, he's going to cost Harrison Barnes some dollars.
Oh, come on. Rush can't even make it another week or two. He's
without getting injured again.
Yeah, sorry to say that, but like.
Oh no, I'm not saying because of like they're going to choose Rush or that Rush is going to look. I'm just saying that it makes Barnes kind of look systemy. Like if anyone can come in and score 22 points, playing alongside those guys, Barnes probably can't be too happy with like a 12th guy on the bench coming in his spot and dominating like that.
Yeah, and I think Barnes is that player. He's very system dependent. He's just very reliant on being like the fourth option in case all the guys are guarded, and he gets really clean looks a lot of the time, open threes or dump offs, like really clean looks around the baskets. So I don't think it's going to be Brandon Rush who's going to expose him, but I think it's still going to get made regardless. But the point still stands that he is a system-y player. I think where if he's elsewhere, his talent will be a little exposed. I'm not a big Harrison Barnes guy myself.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm wearing a UNC shirt right now, by the way, so it hurts me to say.
Yeah, we got a big game Tuesday. UNC Maryland.
Yeah.
You gonna watch?
Of course.
All right, good. I already told Jay that we have to do our podcast before it because I'm not missing that. Okay, let's keep on moving. So Jazz side, Favors, it was just a personal thing, right? He's going to be back?
Yeah, I fully expect. He practiced on Sunday. So, he's fully expected to be back. Trey Burke, probable with back spasms. Rodney Hood dealing with back spasms, too questionable. So, definitely, some names to watch, especially with Hood there. If he's out, then Alec Burks gains a lot more viability as a discount price at 3,600 on DK.
Trey Burke, you mean?
No, if Rodney Hood is out, I'm looking
At
at
Alec.
Alec Burks at 3,600 on DK.
Alec Burks isn't 36. He's 51 on DK. Trey Burke is 36 on DK.
Oh, so we get this mixed up all the time.
We do this every podcast where the Jazz are playing.
Oh my gosh.
The stupid Burks.
Yeah, so yeah, Burks at 51 is a little bit more dicey. I take that back. I would like him a lot more.
Yeah, he's at 36. Yeah,
I'm all about
regardless of Hood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Those guys, Burks and Hood, are always like almost the exact same price. And I just can never choose them.
They're the Bledsoe Knight light version.
Yeah, they are. That's a great point. That's exactly what they are. Just the 5K version. Okay, so the more important players, I guess, would be Favors, Hayward, Gobert. How do you feel about them?
Yeah, Hayward's been killing lately. I like him a lot, just in general. But man, against Draymond, 66 puts him in a plot about, I don't know, like 29.
So would Draymond guard him over Favors?
Well, they would start. It might be Clay actually that guards.
Yeah, I would assume that it would Clay on Hayward.
Yeah, sorry,
which I'm okay with.
Yeah, I'm better with that.
It's still not great. Clay's a good defender.
I think it's probably at 66 on DK, and then let me see on FanDuel, 6,500 on FanDuel for Gordon Hayward. Probably like a B minus cash gameplay, B plus maybe. I think you're profiting, but not one of my favorite plays of the night. I don't think you want to test Golden State or San Antonio too often, and because more often than not you'll end up on the wrong side of that, and there are probably definitely better spots to get your money in, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's I would say he's about a B tournament play. I would say that he's an F cash game play because we just talked about Durant and Kawhi being a lot cheaper than they should, and they're small forwards. So there just shouldn't be a situation where you're playing Gordon Hayward in cash tomorrow.
Agreed.
Please just go Durant or Kawhi and trust us. Yeah, I agree. Gobert 6'3" interest you at all?
Yeah, he's been playing a little better recently. So I think some tournament appeal, I think, for sure. He's still not blocking a ton of shots, which is like a little concerning.
That's him, yeah.
The blocks have been really down lately. So I've had to keep we do daily rates and stuff for the projections. I've had to keep depressing his block rate for every day because it just like inflates his value so much. It inflates his projection so much. I think he's been like around like sub 2 blocks per 36, which is
super weird.
Yeah, super weird for him.
I'd have to look into that more, whether it's guys avoiding him or what. But
I actually looked at his synergy or defensive metrics on NBA stats, and he's actually been very good, defensively, like field goal percentage allowed, within 5 feet. I think he's still like minus 10% or so from league averaging. He's averaging 40. He's allowing like 45% shooting within 5 feet, which is obviously really good. And his defensive metrics mostly are generally not too far off from where it was last year. I think the blocks are just not coming.
So maybe that's a situation like Dwight Howard saw that in his like peak Magic days where his defensive stats went down a little bit, but it was because guys were just completely avoiding him in the paint. So he's still making like an effect on the defense, but it just wasn't showing up in the box score as much. So something to think about for sure. Because if he's not going to have that block upside, then he's not super interesting in fantasy as much as he is in real life. Cool. All right, let's move on. Dallas at Sacramento is the next game. We got 2 more games, and this one is the juicy one of the slate. We got 214 over under, which is the highest, and it's a close game as well. So it's kind of really good for our purposes. The Mavericks are 2-point favorites as I have it. So let's start on Dallas side.
Yeah, Dallas is always really tricky, man, because they've had some really high over-unders, like implied totals lately, and they've just like disappointed like consistently. So I think like even though they have 107.8 implied, that's the highest implied total on the slate. Like
I don't know where it's coming from.
yeah, like I
Or
can
even that
see a
they're going to
lot
hit
of
it.
these. No, I don't think they're going to hit it for one.
Yeah.
Even against this poor Sacramento defense, but like it's just so hard to like trust most of these guys. Like I just don't know. Like run down this roster and tell me like who's a guy you feel super solid about outside of Dirk Nowitzki. Like there's so much volatility.
Yeah. Well, I do feel really solid about Dirk.
Yeah,
6'4", I think he's cash for sure.
agreed.
Yeah, the only guy that I could even probably argue with you about is maybe Zaza right now.
Yeah, but so DeMarcus Cousins is questionable. I think he's probably
If he's
on
in,
track
then
to
no, yeah.
on Monday. Because if he's listed questionable this far in advance, is probably a good indication that he's more likely to play than not. We'll see.
Fair enough.
But I don't like him if Boogie plays
Me
at
either.
all. Yeah, Dirk at 64 on DK, 65 on FanDuel. I like that in cash a lot.
Yep.
I think you kind of want a piece of this 1078 implied, and I think that's your best bet. Next guy that I'm okay with is on DK is Darren Williams at 6,100. He's the next guy that I feel confident is a strong word, but like confident enough because he's going to play like 32 minutes or whatever. He's at 35 DK points for the last week, so he's been producing pretty steadily. And Jay and I have talked on the last pod about how Rondo has a really inflated defensive reputation, and I'm not afraid of his that matchup really at all. I'm okay attacking Rondo. So Darren at 6,100 on DK is I'm okay with. I think that's like a B plus cash play. Not one of my favorites, but I still think you get value if you want a piece of this total. Yeah. And then tournament play is Wesley Matthews, 4,400 on DK, 4,700 on FanDuel, the kind of the ultimate boomer bust guy on this roster. He has fairly high highs, not too high, but like for his price, pretty high. Like he can give you a really great return on your investment relative to his salary on some games, and then just totally crap the bed on some other games. It kind of depends on like how he's feeling. Coming off that Achilles injury, he's not always there on every night, so you kind of have to see. And obviously, King's shooting guards have been. You want to attack that position aggressively. It's probably among the worst defensively. So I think West is a really good tournament play here.
Yep, 44 definitely. His minutes have been up. He just hasn't been kind of the guy that we saw last year, but obviously he's just been working his way back. But yeah, I agree. The only other guy that interests me really is Zaza, but like you said, only if Boogie is out. Boogie being DeMarcus Cousins, obviously. And I think that I'm fine with him in cash if Boogie's out.
Is that 59? No, I don't think that's too strong. 5,900 is perfectly reasonable for Zaza. Leaves plenty of room for a floor there, and I think his floor is around. It's a little lower, actually around that range. So I feel pretty comfortable with Zaza against Costa Kufis and Trilly Willie, Cauley Stein.
Yep. Yeah, and I agree with you on the rest of the guys for sure. Sacramento side, so this has been the tough part of playing NBA DFS lately is whether Boogie plays, and unfortunately being on the West Coast, his games are usually the last ones, but you're not sure until the game time. And unfortunately, he's such a dominant player where him being in or out affects the entire slate. So yeah, so he's been frustrating for me lately. But so yeah, I guess give me your thoughts on Sacramento, and I guess we'll kind of assume that he is going to play since he's questionable right now.
Yeah, so assuming he does play, that obviously is a significant hit to a lot of these guys' values. I think Rondo at 8,300 on FanDuel is still good.
Yep.
I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Boogie being in or out doesn't really affect his value too much because it really just means a bit more assisting opportunities for him to find Boogie around the basket or even at the three-point line.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with Rondo on FanDuel still. Me and Jay talked about how even though he might not have the highest rating or the highest projected plus minus, his floor is super high. So that's something that gives him added value in cash games, especially 50-50s, where you just kind of need to beat half the field. So I'm good with that. Rudy Gay, I'm still good with in tournaments, even if Cousins does play, because he's coming off some really disappointing performances. His ownership level would be very low if Cousins plays, and they're still implied at 106 the Kings are. So I think there's still enough scoring to go around where Rudy Gay can hit value. He's still 72 on DK and 71 on FanDuel. So I think that's a fine tournament spot for him.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for me to do that with the other small forwards we talked about that we like so much. But I agree his ownership, and I guess for that reason too, his ownership is going to be crazy low.
Very low.
Yeah, so I like that reason or that line of thinking for sure. I just don't know if I will have the stones to do it, I guess. But yeah, I agree on Rondo. I'm not super on him on DK. If Cousins plays at 9 is just a little pricey for me. But yeah, I guess I don't think it's the worst play. Are you good with Boogie at 10-6 if he plays? Obviously, like a really high over/under, and Zaza you're not super worried about. It seems like a nice spot to target him.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I probably like Durant at 99, 97. Who else did we say that was super unfavorable? That, like I said, start pair him with Gay or pair him
Kawhi.
with Kawhi.
Yeah.
I probably like Kawhi at his price a little better on a value standpoint. So Cousins is fine. I like the Durant Kawhi construction for DK a little bit more.
I do too. Yeah, we're on the same page there. I think he's fine in cash, and I love him. I love him in cash or tournaments in the spot if he plays. I think you're right that I like Durant and Kawhi, but that's just because they're really underpriced. But just to kind of put one more guy just kind of in this frame of reference here. So Harden at 10-3 or Cousins at 10-6? That's flip coin for me.
Yeah, I think I go Harden though, given with Dwight playing 25 minutes.
Fair enough.
And with him having such a bigger share of the offense right now, I think Harden is it. Though I love Boogie,
yeah, it's tough. Yeah. So I think we're kind of in that. It's kind of an agreement where Durant and Kawhi are the two top cash options, and then Cousins and Harden are kind of even for that number 3 spot for us, as far as the high price guys go.
Steph is there too at 10-8.
Yeah, 10-8. Yeah, Steph is always there. 10-8 is Steph needs to be at 12 to really for me to start thinking about him not in cash. Okay, last game, Portland at Clippers. Over-under is 206.5, and the Clippers are 7.5 point favorites. So let's start on Portland's side. So where are you at with them?
Yeah, I think with the return of Myers Leonard, it even further just marginalizes like everybody except for Lillard and McCollum. Like look at these minutes like last game for these guys. Like Aminu 28, Harkless 26, Leonard 22, Plumlee 23, Ed Davis 24. Noah Vonleh 20. All these guys are like playing like 20 to 28 minutes. So like none of them can have really good standalone value. Do you lean McCollum here as a tournament option just because Dame is going to draw Chris Paul?
Yeah, that's exactly my thinking. I'm off Dame and on McCollum for this. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't love either in cash though.
I don't either.
Yeah. But yeah, if I had to, I'm really not on Damon either. I guess you can never be completely off of him because of his ceiling, but definitely McCollum is really the only guy I'm looking at for Portland, and I like him as a moderate. I think he's a B+ tournament option at 6'6". It is definitely fine.
Yeah, they're still implied at 9.5, which is not outstanding, but not terrible either. Where it's like an Eastern Conference team implied total. It's still up there.
Yeah, it'll be hard to go. Like I don't think I'll have a ton just because, like, you have Mayo at 4K, so you're getting $2,600 discount on DraftKings, and I think that Mayo could outscore him just standalone. So I think that McCollum is kind of a tournament only option, but one that you could potentially get at an ownership discount because of maybe the values. But yeah, that's it for me on Portland side. Clipper side, obviously I think this is a pretty good spot to target CP3, who can be another guy that we add to our top guys that we're looking at in cash. Really, really good matchups for the top guys. We always like to target guards against Portland. So CP3 going against them at 8-7 on DraftKings is a pretty good spot here.
I agree, and I think this might be one of my favorite like tournament stacks. Playing CP3 and Blake together in this matchup, because I think like Blake's tournament ownership, especially on FanDuel, hasn't been very high at all recently for some reason. Especially because they played Utah and New Orleans, I think, the last two games. So people are scared off by Favors and Anthony Davis. So I don't think Chris Paul will be one of the higher owned guys on Monday, just because there's so many other. We talked about so many other options, so many other names out there too, and so many like slam dunk, like cash elite cash plays. So Paul and Griffin, or even Paul and DeAndre Jordan is okay with me too. I think Blazers are going to take a lot of shots and miss a lot of shots. I think Dame's a lock for double-digit misses in this one. So you can see a fair amount of rebounding opportunities for DJ. And then, Mason Plumlee is not a great defender. Doesn't scare me too much. So I think this is like probably like one of their best tournament places to look. Second highest implied team total of the slate.
Yeah, but probably low ownership. Yeah, you're right. Just because of the values. Yeah, I think Griffin, CP3, and Jordan are all cash game playable. I don't know if I will because of the values we've talked about, but I think that they're all probably underpriced, especially on DraftKings, and especially relative to the matchup. While I may not get them in cash games, I think I agree. They're prime guys to target in tournaments, and I'm not really interested in the other guys on LA. They've always been very top heavy. So I think that the high total is going to go to most of those three guys.
Yeah, especially now that the minutes on the wings are so like spread out now, like especially with Bamute. I'm starting now at small forward. You've got a whole mishmash of guys that you don't even know where the minutes are going. They have Redick, Crawford, Bamute, Paul Pierce, Wes Johnson, Lance Stevenson, all those guys fending for minutes. None of them are really going to stand out from the pack. So I'm off. Yeah. I'm off pretty much everybody else on this team.
Yeah, it's obvious Doc doesn't have a clue what he's doing with that small forward. I mean, not that he doesn't have a clue what he's doing, but that more that he's just like throwing stuff at the wall, hoping something sticks, because he doesn't really have he doesn't have a small forward on his roster, unfortunately. But yeah, I guess that's kind of my ending thoughts. Any last thoughts on that or the slate?
No, I think let's run through the
Position, sure.
positions.
Yeah,
I didn't do it last time because we ran like 2 hours
yeah.
plus on the last spot, so I was like, okay, maybe we should forego that. So let's run through. Let's
Yeah.
see.
So we'll start with point guard. I think we said we like Steph at 10-8 on DraftKings. And then the rest of the guys were kind of just cash our tournament only options. We like CP3 okay at 8-7.
Darren's fine at
At
61.
61.
Tony Parker's
Yeah.
borderline at 54.
Yeah, but we really like Bayless down at 4-9. If you're not going, maybe Steph or Chris Paul. I think if you're not going one of those, try to dip down to Bayless at 4-9.
Agreed.
Yeah. Beverly maybe in a tournament. Shooting guard. We obviously like Harden a lot in cash games if you want to pay up at that position.
McCollum in tournaments at 6'6".
Yeah, we said Butler if you want to be really cute in tournaments, but
I'm intrigued by Will Barton at 58 if Gary Harris is out again with that concussion.
yeah, I like Middleton at 5-7 as well. We liked Wesley Matthews at 4-4
as a tournament.
A tournament play. Joe Green, if Dang is out at 4K, is borderline cash on DK and definitely cash on FanDuel. And that's about it for shooting guards, I think.
No Austin Rivers?
Always Austin Rivers.
Each one more punt play if Kirk Heinrich is out.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, for sure.
I don't love it, but like it's kind of viable. It's whatever.
Something we have to talk about. We have to mention now. Small forward is the loaded spot that we love. Durant and Kawhi, both super underpriced at 9-9 and 8-6 on DraftKings. Use them in cash. Use them together in cash. Yeah, for sure. Rudy Gay, we like in tournaments if you want to get cute. Boogie's out; he's definitely playable. But tournaments if he's not.
Agreed. Gallinari at 68 in tournaments is fine. He's kind of the only guy on that Denver team you can remotely trust at this point.
Yeah, and I feel like kind of the same way about Hayward, that he's okay in tournaments.
Agreed. Wow, Aminu really fell off. Like he's been awful. From like his start, like the 3-point shooting, the steals, everything's been like the rebounding, just so like he's fallen off a cliff. Like he's one of my favorite plays, like in cash to start the season, but now he's like a total fade.
Yeah, and his price doesn't come down to reflect that either. Yeah, that's the problem. I hope he gets it together because I like him as well. He's a good basketball player. And small forward's ugly down at the bottom. So
yeah, don't get too cute with Iguodala at 55. I know people were like all over him last game, but they're not going to play him a ton of minutes.
Yeah. There's no reason to not play Durant or Kawhi. Like if you want to get some ownership discount, you can go Gallo, Giannis, Hayward in that range. Gay, obviously, if Boogie is out, but Durant and Kawhi are just so plug and play, like automatic. Just don't get cute, especially in cash games. Power forward. Some interesting guys here. Boogie, if he plays, I think we're definitely fine with him in either contest format. Blake we liked in cash in tournaments. Millsap, I think we kind of were iffy about. That's where we started to get kind of eh.
Yeah, I think he's fine in cash, but not the best cash option.
Yeah.
But the best cash option on Atlanta for what it's worth with their team total.
That's true. I'm fine with Draymond and cash at 7-7.
Yeah. So would you? I think I'd rather have Draymond than Millsap.
Yep.
So like that even makes Millsap a weaker cash game option considering Draymond's at the same position at the same price.
Yep. Yeah, I won't have much Millsap. Going down, we liked Dirk at 6-4.
Yeah.
Maybe Mirotic if you want to get cute, but not a ton.
In the tournament,
yeah. Um, gosh, I'm trying to keep on going here. I'm not seeing anyone else that I really love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew. No cheap options for sure.
Yep.
Oh, obviously Johnny O'Brien.
JOB. Yep. Center position. Drummond 8-9. I think we were okay with. Whiteside kind of the same deal at 8K. Jordan at 7-1. We were okay with. Monroe. I think we're both kind of
Off.
off
I'm
tomorrow.
off. I'm off Monroe.
Yeah. Sully is interesting in tournaments, I think. Gobert is interesting in tournaments. Duncan is okay in cash.
No, I prefer him in tournament. I think
Yeah.
so my favorite play at center by far in cash is Capella at
Capella.
51.
Yep. Me too.
Um, like a lot of tournament options, like higher priced and borderline cash options. He's kind of like the only guy that I.
Yeah. I like Zaza if Boogie's out, but yeah, for me it's going to be Capella or pay up for Drummond or Whiteside, and with the going Durant and Kawhi in my cash games probably. I think that's probably going to put my roster construction at Capella, and
Agreed.
I'm fine with that. So
Yeah, so maybe I think we'll make some cash rosters already, like Bayless, Mayo, Durant, Kawhi, and Capella.
yeah, start with that and kind of do your own research and build your own models and kind of work from that core and see where you end up. But I think that's a pretty solid start. And that'll end it for me unless you have any final thoughts.
No, that's it for me.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Good luck tomorrow. And yeah, again, back to full schedule, and I'll be here. So you will talk to Jay and I on Tuesday. So good luck again, and talk to you in a couple of days.
Good luck, guys.